Hey, we're in part three. We're going to be talking about the startup of your franchise. What does the first 4 to 6 months look like? What are the pitfalls and the profits that you can experience? You're going to want to stick around for this.
This is the Franchise Pitfalls and Profit Show. Each week, we bring you the challenges and triumphs of being in the franchise development and consulting business. The things you need to make money faster. And now your host, one of the most successful franchise developers in North America, Don Shin.
Hey, I've been taking you through my journey of purchasing a franchise 24 years ago. And we're in part three. So I didn't want to leave you hanging with how did it go? What did I go through? And what am I now 24 years of experience of helping thousands of people go through this process of investigating a franchise, purchasing the franchise, and starting the franchise. So I didn't want to leave you hanging with the startup not being discussed. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I've seen some good ones and I've seen some bad ones. And so we want to go over the pitfalls and the profits of the startup of your franchise purchase. So, like they say, what do you want, the good news or the bad news first? What do you want, the profitability part or the pitfall part? Well, I'm going to start with the pitfall part. The pitfalls, one of them is don't play golf every Friday during your first 6 months of opening your business. And I hope you're chuckling. I hope it's a big Santa Claus type belly chuckle on this one. But you know what? I saw it happen. I had someone say that, hey, in my corporate executive life, I had gotten to the place where I could play golf every Friday from April through October, and I'm not going to let anything stop that. And I'm changing the name to protect the innocent. I'm going to say, Harry. What I told Harry was, Harry, it's your business. You can do it the way you want to do it. But if you're particularly in the first 6 months of the business, if you're putting in a part-time effort, which this would be, working 4 days instead of 5, you're going to get part-time results. So one of the pitfalls is be sure that you've got the time. Be sure you're not doing some things that are going to hold you back from a really strong startup. And I'm not saying never play golf again on a Friday. And I'm not saying never do it during your startup, but you probably shouldn't do it regularly. And you probably should be much more in tune with what's necessary to be done when you're starting up your franchise. A second pitfall, another pitfall that I've seen is don't go in undercapitalized. Now, again, we're talking mostly about starting a franchise, and this really should not happen with a franchise model. You know, the franchise industry, the government regulates it. They require you to receive, or they require the franchisor to produce a thing called an FDD, a franchise disclosure document. So the bottom line is, you want to be sure you are capitalized properly. I would say that you don't want to, put in your last quarter, your last dime, your last penny. Does anybody use pennies anymore? You don't want to be so tight and thin on your resources that if there is a bump in the road in your first 6 months, that it's not going to throw you totally out of whack. My point here is about undercapitalization is that once you start your business, you are now an operating business. You are now a going concern. And if you're struggling financially, even if it's just a cash flow challenge, the realities are it's going to be difficult for your business to get a line of credit or to get a loan. Going to be very difficult for your business once it's already operating. It's easier to know up front, present it to the lenders. Here's what the package is. Here's what the business is. Here's the franchise. Here's the concept. Here's the income models, et cetera, et cetera. Here's our plans. But once you're out executing it, people don't lend money to businesses that are struggling. They will lend money to franchises on the front end to get it off the ground. They're not going to loan to a business running for several months, less than a year, and isn't showing a profit yet. So the second pitfall is don't go in undercapitalized. And this is smart, whether it's a franchise business or not. However, again, in franchising, the numbers should be very, very clear, and go in on the high side, go in where you're considering the most that it's going to cost you to get that going. The third pitfall today that I wanted to talk about is hire in the areas that you know you're weak. And I'm going to add an asterisk to that. Not only areas you might be weak in, but hire the things that you don't like to do. Because here's what's going to happen with the startup of a new business. You're not going to have Joe Boss hanging over your shoulder all the time, pushing you to do whatever you've got to do to accomplish your job, to do your job and to meet the requirements of your job and the performance of the company or your department or whatever it is, your division, whatever it is you're running. The reality is when you get out on your own and you're the boss, you're the only one who's got to push you, then candidly, the things that you're weak at, and again, I'll throw in on top of that, the things you don't like to do. You might be good at them when you do them, but you don't like to do them. You want to hire these things. How do I know this? Because I was there. I'm even still there at times. If I'm being honest, I'm even still there at times. I don't always do the things I don't like to do, and nobody's pushing me and nobody's really driving me. And I've got to be very, very careful to do the things that I need to do to be successful, to do the things whether I like them or not. Actually, this I believe very strongly is a key to success. It's doing the things you don't like to do, doing the things that others don't like to do and don't do. You do them and you'll be more successful than your competitor or than the other guy. So the pitfalls I'm going to be sharing today are simply: don't play golf every Friday. Recognize you've got to make some short-term sacrifices during those first 6 months of starting your business. Go in properly capitalized is the second one. Don't go in undercapitalized is the pitfall. And then the third pitfall is weaknesses and things you don't like to do. Don't try to do it all yourself. Hire early, again, and plan for that payroll, plan for that hiring so that you get the proper startup. If you don't hire early for the things you don't like to do, I can guarantee you it will impact the results that you're going to get in your first 6 months, and it's going to impede a quicker startup. All right, let's go positive now. Let's go to the fun stuff. Let's go to the profitability. And I've got several things I want to share with you that are the profitable parts of starting up your franchise. One of them is to plan to be consumed. It's sort of the opposite of the first pitfall that I shared. Plan to be consumed for about 6 months. That will ease up. You shouldn't, once you get up and you're effective, you have some staffing and it's working well. You don't have to go crazy with 100 or 120 hours a week forevermore. And you may never have to put in more than 50 or 60 hours even in the first 6 months. But the reality is plan for it. Make accommodations, have some backup in other areas of life so that you can give the proper attention. That's what's going to get you the quickest startup and make you profitable faster. So plan to be consumed, if you will, and you'll have a more profitable startup. Um, a second point to being profitable and more successful quickly is to have 4 months, maybe upwards of 6 months of personal expense money put aside. The last thing you want to do is have the pressures in your business of the business somehow performing in a way in the first 4 to 6 months that it's going to pay your mortgage, or put it conversely, that your mortgage doesn't get paid unless the business produces in those first 6 months. So have your personal expenses, some monies put aside to cover you so that you don't feel that pressure. Because again, when you feel that stress and you feel that pressure, it normally means you're not going to perform that well. So you want to perform with ease and without stress. And I'm talking about monies beyond the working capital that you might need for the business's cash flow. Now, don't go crazy. I was working with a candidate a few years ago, and he was trying to put away, or planning to put away, 1 to 2 years worth of expenses, personal expenses. And he was rolling in there. Oh yeah, we like to go on a big vacation every year, and so I need thousands of dollars to take my family of four on this vacation. I'm talking about the basics for 4 to 6 months. Your mortgage, if you have a car payment, your utilities, a budget for food. You don't ever want to have the strains and the stress of the business producing as quickly in the first 6 months to provide for your basics and your necessities. So have some money put aside. But again, it's not a budget that's going to pay for your most exotic, expensive vacation of a lifetime kind of thing. Cover the basics, cover the basics. And then, third and lastly, on the profitability side, I want to talk about communications with your family. The spouse will know what's going on. The spouse, but you still want to have the understanding with the spouse. There's going to be things you're going to have to do in the business that your spouse may have to pick up some of the slack. They may be the backup plan. Again, it's not rearranging your life forever, because part of the reason you're most likely starting a business is for lifestyle reasons. But the family must know in that startup phase, in order for it to be as profitable, or when I say profitable, I mean as successful as it can be in the first 4 to 6 months, there's got to be some backup for some of the things that are going to have to be sidelined by you, that you do for a while. So communication will be key in this area. Your spouse should already be up to speed on this. So what I'm talking about communications with is with the rest of the family. Maybe there are some family duties that you have with your kids, and I'm not saying, again, totally stop doing it all. But what I'm saying is you need to prepare them as to maybe why dad can't coach the ball team this particular season, because he's 6 months of starting the business. Dad will get back, or mom will get back to coaching after the business is up and running. So be transparent, communicate that. Absolutely, you should have already communicated that and put those plans and those things in place with your spouse. But you also want to be sure to communicate with the rest of the family, the other people that will be impacted by you starting the business. Also, share in that communication, share the long-term vision and share the positives of how it's going to impact them. So if they're making some sacrifices along with you, let them see your vision. Let them see the lifestyle changes that you're going to make. Hey, dad's now, yeah, I've got to put 6 months into this new business, or mom, but you know how I used to always be on the road, 2 or 3 weeks out of the year, and I was missing all of your games, and I couldn't coach any of your sports teams. I missed all of your dance recitals. That's all going to be corrected after this next 6 months or so. So increase the level of communications with all the stakeholders. So that's what I wanted to talk about. The part 3 of my journey through franchising, a profitable and pitfall less startup of your franchise.